doing this video because I had the realization, thinking about these people that are targeting people, especially our family, and the extremists, amongst the. It's not like it's thousands of people. It just seems to be a few families, and then they use their churches, their agencies, their employment, to have a further grasp and their connections in their neighborhood. Oh, and obviously social media too. I've caught more than one person posting stuff about us in Facebook Messenger groups. Knowing some of those, you have your hidden groups, which only Facebook corporate knows about, believe it or not, yes. There's secret stuff going on in, actually, now I think it's Meta Facebook. I don't use it, other than to buy and sell. That's about it. But they they have groups that are called hidden groups, and the only way, or is it secret groups? Yeah, the hidden groups. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, it's hidden or secret group. There's two kinds. One kind you could search, but you can't see anything. All you see is the name of the group. You can't see who's in it. You can't see anything. And then you have like the hidden groups, which don't show up at all. You have to be specifically invited through the messenger app. You have to be invited, and then you accept the invitation, and then you give them a whole bunch of information. Then they actually allow you. It's like a process. These groups, nobody knows anything about them except even the members. I was told even members, if the settings are right, even the members don't know all the other members. They only know the admin. Admin, and then one or two moderators, or maybe more moderators. But anyway, I've caught people posting these about us more than once when I happen to, see people's phones under a table, or see people sitting in a car, or see people standing at a kiosk, and believe it or not, they take a picture of our receipt and post it. Oh, what else have I seen? I've seen reflection of people's glasses, and I can see that they're inside the groups. And like sometimes right after a conversation, and maybe I've walked away or something, or they're starting to walk away, and you just see them, a word here and there, in a reflection. Generally, you can't see a lot, but you'd be surprised what you can see in the right lighting and the right kind of glasses. You'd be surprised what you can see. But anyway, so it is something that dawned on me about extremist groups. Now, this kind of, I've said before that I have interests in my graduate work in intelligence study and the forensic psychology of extremists. And I like to study prospect theory, which is actually an economic theory, and then gaming theory, which is actually I guess you'd call it a mathematical theory. But I like both of them. And I mean, they apply to so much stuff. You boil down prospect theory, it's reward punishment. It's about economic gain, economic loss. Spiritual gain, spiritual loss. And gaming theory is just what it says. It's about gaming. What if you introduce a whole bunch of XYZ variables against other invariables of ABC, and then, see how different things interplay, and then in the middle add another 1, 2, 3 variable, and then a 5, 6, 7 invariables, and you see, or non-variable, not invariable, but add non-variables, different, like, okay, situation ABC is 1, natural disaster, 2, power outage. You just add these other variables that non-variables that alter the results of the game. That's a basic explanation. I'm very tired. My health is declining, so forgive me sometimes if my synonyms are incorrect. I have a very, very big sleep debt, And because of my military training, rarely get drowsy sitting down. Um, I don't know. I just can't. I'm not saying I don't. Sometimes I'll let myself, close my eyes, but it just doesn't go anywhere. Just I very specific situations I have to be in order to sleep. So my CPAP doesn't work. My airway is, getting smaller, so I have to protect it, especially when we're out, amongst aggressive peoples. I have to be ready if they try to, hit the airway. But it's not all the time. It seems to come and go. That's the big problem. But anyway, so I have a big sleep debt, and I post these things out there because at this point it just doesn't matter. Whatever happens to me fighting for my family, and now that I've returned to the faith where I'm supposed to be, then whatever I have to do to protect my family and to fight for my church and for the families in my churches, in my church, and for our clergy and our religious, then so be it. As long as my children are okay, that's all that matters. And, I may not be able to give them much economically, but, if you live a righteous life, you can give a great spiritual inheritance to your children of righteousness as you struggle. Even the greatest saint struggled. We're not above sin. Even the greatest saint struggled. But anyway, back to the topic. Extremists, there always seems to be a sexual dimension. This is an interesting area, not only in studying extremism, related to terrorism, but also any kind of extremism that's coupled with criminal networks, especially violent crime. I have a theory of, it used to be a, what's that word, a trivectorate? Trivectorate? It used to be a triangular relationship among several variables that relates to extreme violent crime or serial crime. But also when it comes to extremism, many times you see that. But also the interesting thing is you also find some kind of sexual dimension to extremism, whether it's pedophilia or, multiple wives, bigamy, or what is it, multiple husbands. I think it still falls under bigamy. But you find these things, and you find these sometimes very perverted, very disgusting sexual behaviors within these extremist groups. And it's just interesting to see, like among some of these, we'll save it for a paper. But you'll see some very extremist activity coupled with, it could be any kind of extremist activity, but you'll see it many times, interestingly, coupled with some kind of deviant sexuality. Now, I know there's, different kinds of families now. The world's changing. But the spiritual world doesn't always match the material one. So, we'll see in God's time what kind of different families he accepts, because man is not going to put mandates on God. So we'll see in time. The church moves slowly so that, it can discern God's will over time, sometimes over generations. So all you can tell people is to be patient, test your actions. What are their fruits? If their fruits don't give good things that you'd see written in Timothy or in Philippians or in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, I think. If you don't see such great fruits coming from your actions, then you should stop them. Whatever means you have to do, whatever practices you have to do. And even Jesus said some evil, some demons, some unrighteousness can't be purged without fasting and intense prayer. There he's specifically speaking of demonic infestations and oppression. But it's just an interesting thing, thinking back all of these extremist groups. In Michigan we had some of the sovereign citizen guys, and Michigan militia guys, and other, extremist groups having more than one wives. The Israelites have more than one wives or more than one husbands, more than one husband. Then we go out to Utah, the fundamentalist Mormons, more than one wife, sometimes child wives. Then we go with some of the other groups from Arizona. I can't remember their name. Actually, we used to have a good friend of our family that managed to escape. Throughout my life, I've met people that were victims of human trafficking. Some of them were victims of human trafficking because they were locked into cults and they had to flee to get away. I mean, this is a flashback to the 70s with cult deprogramming. I've met a couple of people that actually had to escape to get away. And there's always a sexual dimension to these groups. And it's interesting how sometimes different cult groups, when they break up, specifically one cult group I know of from Arizona, or no, New Mexico. No, it was Arizona. When their leader died and his 2 or 3 wives and the cult was dispersed, this was the chance that our family friend got away. But while she was in there, they did horrible things to her. She had several husbands. I'm not going to get into it in depth, but I mean, her story is very moving, in the story of her son, the things that happened to them. And now this cult group is broken up, but some of the members have joined another cult group and helped it grow. And some of these people are right here in Michigan. They're trying to start it up under a different name with different leaders. But still, some of the new cult people that have absorbed the old cult people, some of the old cult people leaders are now leaders in the new cult. And this has a very, very sexual dimension. I mean, involving all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't possibly think of that are involved. And specifically some of the groups in Michigan, transgenderism, and then marrying off people that just reached the age of consent. I mean, all kinds of stuff that is involved in this. And I'm not going to go with specifics, but, because I'm on my own. I don't have a team to protect me here. But the stuff that I've uncovered would make it would make you sick to your stomach. And it's international. It's international. And it would really, really make you sick to your stomach. And some of these people will justify human slavery based on race. I'm not going to go into that. That's a very hot button topic for some of the justifications for it, but I kid you not. And I don't make up things. I don't lie. But so you see these extremist groups that mix in a sexual dimension. And, it just goes to show, just like Jesus said, if you drive out one demon or somebody embraces one demon and that demon leaves, I guess that would be a phononym, a similar sounding word, not a synonym. But when they leave, they come back and they bring 7 more of their friends. That way you have demons of sexual depravity, lust, perversion of God's creation, greed, lasciviousness, arrogance. It brings in all those brother and sister demons. And, it's very fascinating to see that, and how people will use sex as a weapon. The devil hasn't really changed his tactics very much throughout history. He just repackages them.